Right, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to this mini class by AstroLabs Academy. Today we are speaking about how to launch e-commerce business, which is a topic many people around are excited about. Many people are kind of bearing ideas in their head about what they could start as an e-commerce business, but they're not sure where to start. So we'll try to give you a little guidance today when Ahmed will basically go through the whole process of starting e-commerce business in the UAE. It's in the end, it's not that complicated as it might seem from outside. So we'll try to give you a little help and hopefully motivate you to go on your e-commerce journey, because it's definitely something which is booming now. I just read there's a Seamless conference happening in Dubai World Trade Center. They just mentioned that in the last 5 years, e-commerce grew by crazy, like 153% in the UAE. So probably the fastest growing sector we can see, and it's becoming a huge part of the whole retail. So great opportunities here. And again, today, our goal is to guide you through the process, to explain you what you need to do to start your e-commerce journey. I see few new faces, few new names. Guys, feel free to introduce yourself in chat. Why are you joining this session, etc. Just drop a message in chat. It will be great to hear from you what you're trying to, or what you're aspiring to do in e-commerce or outside e-commerce. Just to introduce AstroLabs very quickly to those who are first time with us. We are helping people and companies either grow their career or grow businesses in a few different ways. One of them is AstroLabs Academy, where we educate companies and individuals in topics such as digital marketing, tech, and data. We also have a co-working space in Dubai GLT. In Riyadh, we help with company setup, and last but not least, with tech and digital recruitment. So all these areas, basically, we merge them together to help people and businesses grow. And that's actually what today's session is about. I'm very happy to introduce our own Ahmed Abugash, who will take you through how to launch your own e-commerce business.
All right, thanks, Lucas. I'm just going to share my screen and then we can get started.
All right. In the meantime, really, guys, introduce yourself in the chat. Also, you get to meet other people. Feel free to share your LinkedIn links in the chat so you can network with others. Use this as an opportunity to broaden your network. Very happy to meet everyone. Now, over to you, Ahmed.
All right. Welcome, everyone. It's really great to be here today. So yeah, the topic of today is how to launch your e-commerce side hustle. And what hopefully you'll get out of today's session is to realize that it's easier than you think it is. And most of the things that you think are barriers aren't really barriers, and you can go through them if you just understand how things work, and that's what we're going to help you with. So yeah, like a little about me, I'm Director of Marketing. I've been with AstroLabs for about 7 years, and yeah, I mean, you can read more about me, but basically today's session is about just, it's about you. So it's about how to help you launch your side hustle and your business. And I think all of you could do it by the end of this year if you actually follow all of the steps that we lay out. This program today's session is part of a larger program that we're doing, which is a 2-month program, which will basically walk you through the entire process from how to come up with something to sell, how to write a business plan, how to actually build your actual website, how to set up your trade license, how to figure out things like shipping, how to actually do marketing for your products. So launching and growing a e-commerce company is a fairly straightforward process, but it also has a lot of steps, and there are lots of places where you could get stuck along the way. So that's why we built this program. And later on, Lucas is going to talk a little bit more about how the program is structured. But if you want to learn more about it, then follow this link here, astrolab.com/e-commerce. And you could read about the entire program that we have coming up. And there's a link there also if you want to learn more about it, or if you want to sign up for it. So yeah, if you want to have more of this, basically, just follow that link on the screen. And yeah, let's get started. All right, so how many people here have an idea that they want to launch already, or they have something that they want to sell? If that's you, write it in the chat. Let me know if you have something that you want to sell, or if you don't have an idea yet. So let me know how many people here either have an idea or don't have an idea, but they still want to launch an e-commerce business. You have a product, okay. Don't have an idea, okay. What about everyone else? No idea? Okay, that's fine. That's actually a major part of what I want to talk about is how to actually come up with things that you could sell. Hey, Abdulaziz, welcome. Assist clients with their e-commerce launch. Okay, so you want to do services. Okay, great. So even if you have an idea of the type of thing that you want to launch, I'll also give you some tips today on how to come up with other ways to think about your idea. So I'm going to give you some tips on how to come up with something if you have no idea of what you should sell. And I'm also going to help you if you do have some idea, hopefully help you think about things from a different perspective, and also give you some ideas of ways that you can think about selling things in a different way. All right, great. So when it comes to launching an e-commerce business, there are basically 5 steps that I would say that you have to follow if you want to launch any e-commerce product. Can anyone guess what those 5 steps are, or at least what the first step is? If you want to launch an e-commerce business, what is the first thing that you need? What do you think? Business plan? Okay, even before that, even before a business plan, knowing what to sell. Yeah. So of course, if you want to launch an e-commerce business, like you have to have something to sell, right? And it's fairly, I mean, it's obvious, right? I mean, if I wanted to open a store, even if it's a physical store, like the first question is, what am I selling? And that's like something that you should think about. I mean, because I mean, it's basically, if it's a product people want, it'll be much easier, like all the other steps will be much easier. If you start with a product that no one wants to buy, everything else will be harder. So just keep that in mind. It's the first step, and it might seem, you know, straightforward, but it's something that you should spend some time on, because if you're selling something that no one wants to buy, or it's already done like a million times, then you'll have a very hard time selling it. Yeah, so market research is part of coming up with what to sell. So, I mean, but in the end, I mean, what to sell is the thing that you need to figure out. All right. Someone else said struggling with knowing the process for product vetting and verification. Yeah, I mean, I would say that's like a subcategory maybe of what to sell, or I mean, it also gets into, you know, business setup and all of that. All right, so the first thing is you have to figure out what are you selling. Who can guess what the second step is? I mean, let's say that you did research and you figured out, okay, this is a really great product and I want to sell this. What happens next? A platform, who to sell it to? Target market. Yeah, so again, there's no, I mean, all of those things are correct, but how we think about it is you have to have a place that you're selling it. So it either has to be in some kind of a physical store, or if it's an e-commerce brand, it has to be online, right? So you have to either come up with your own platform, so maybe build your own website, or you could use a third-party service like Amazon or some other place where you could sell something in a marketplace. So the second thing is I have to come up with a place where I'm going to sell my product. And this is also something that I found that a lot of people spend too much time on. I mean, because e-commerce is a problem that has been solved thousands of times. Like there are literally thousands of templates and website builders that I could use, like Shopify, WordPress, and I don't usually need to spend much time. I could literally launch a site for basically free or very low cost. At the most, I could pay like $50 if I wanted to buy like a very good template. And with hosting, it might cost like $5 or $10 a month. But nowadays, especially in 2021, I don't have to spend, you know, thousands of dollars on developers. I can just, you know, pay $50, find a theme, and pay like $5 or $10 a month for hosting, right? If I wanted to do it on my own. And if I wanted to sell through a third party like Amazon or like Noon, then it's free. Like I don't have to do anything. I can just list my product there. So a place to sell is something that is also something that is very solvable and it's very easy. Next is legal setup. And this is one of the things that get people stuck the most, I noticed in the region, is that they often get confused about what is the legal setup. You know, should I set up in a free zone? Should I set up on the mainland? Should I set up, you know, online? There are a lot of ways to do this. And I mean, basically, like the way I see it, there are two main ways. So the first way is you could set up locally in the country that you're based in. So if I'm selling in the UAE, I would want to set up in the UAE, right? And you have to go this route of setting up in the country that you're based in if you're storing the products locally. So if you're storing something in the UAE and you're selling to customers in the UAE, then you have to have a business set up in the UAE. And it doesn't have to be on the mainland. It could be in a free zone, but you have to have a business set up in the UAE. And then if you're storing products, they could be in just like a storage house somewhere. And then for delivery, you could, you know, work with a third party like Aramex, FedEx, or any of those. There is one case where I have to set up on the mainland. Does anyone know what that case is? Like, what is the one case where I have to set up on the mainland and not in a free zone if I'm in the UAE? Can anyone guess? What do you think? Restaurants? Well, even restaurants, there are ways to set them up in a free zone because free zones do have restaurants as well. So the only case where I would have to set up physically on the mainland is if I'm storing the products in my own warehouse and delivering them myself. So if I'm hiring my own drivers and I have my own warehouse, then I have to set up in the country that I'm like on the mainland. However, if I could set up in a free zone and then use some other service, like I said, like a FedEx or Aramex or any of those. So if I'm not storing and delivering them myself, I could use someone else. But if I'm the one that has my own warehouse and I'm the one doing the actual shipping of the products, then I have to set up on the mainland. Okay, I have another question for you. So like another way of doing this is I could set up in the US or in the UK, for example, with like an LLC, and I could also sell here. So for example, I could use something like Stripe Atlas, for example, which lets you set up a US-based company and sell in the UAE. Okay, is that legal? What do you think? Is that allowed for me to set up a US company and then sell in the UAE? What do you guys think? Yes, it is allowed because, again, it's an online business, right? So I could set up a company in the US and then I could ship anywhere in the world. However, like I said, if I'm storing products here, then I have to be based here in some capacity. So what's one example where I would sell something and I'm not based here? Does anyone know? Like, what's an example of me selling a product, but the product itself is not in the region? Drop shipping, for example, is one example. So like, for example, I could use a drop shipping service, and I'll explain what drop shipping is a bit later, but I could use one of those services and basically, it would basically take a product from China or from somewhere else and then ship it to the customer directly. So in that case, I don't need to have a physical location in the country that I'm in because everything is done online, right? So I could set up in the US, for example, or anywhere else. So yeah, those are all things that depend on the business. But yeah, I mean, I'll stay till the end if someone has a question on legal setup. But in general, it's also something that's pretty straightforward. And I mean, one example is in the UAE, there was a new license called the DED trader license. This was announced last year. And this license basically lets you set up a company from your house, basically. So you don't need a physical location. You can just basically set this up, and it's only around 2,000 dirhams per year. So it's a really good option if you're just starting off and you want to test out an idea. You could use that kind of a license, and it's very cheap, right? and it lets you set up in the UAE. All right. The next thing is I have to figure out operations and delivery. So like basically I have to figure out how am I actually shipping my products to the customers? How am I actually, storing the product? Is it something that I'm, do I have my own warehouse? Am I using someone else's warehouse? How am I shipping the products? What areas do I ship to? All of that is something that you have to think about. Next is, and like this is probably the part where it's the last one, but it's probably like the most important one when it comes to actually growing your business is marketing and selling. So once you did everything else, I mean, that's basically just the first step, right? I could have like the best product in the world and I have a really nice website and everything is set up legally and I ship, everywhere and I have very fast delivery times. All of that could be true, but if you don't market and sell your products, it'll be really hard for you to actually grow your business. So that's like the next thing that you have to figure out, and it's very important. And we do have a lot of resources on that, on everything from how to get your site to rank on Google, how to run Instagram ads, Snapchat ads, how to get traffic from social media, from Google ads, from all of these different channels. And that's something that we also cover in our larger course, is how to actually sell and scale your business from your first 10 customers to even thousands of customers. All right. So in general, I found that, like I said earlier, people tend to overcomplicate things, especially when they're just starting off. And hopefully what I want you to get out of today's session is that this is something that all of us could do, even if we have a full-time job or even if we're busy with other things. It's something that all of us could do as even like a side hustle. And it's something that is exciting because, I mean, by launching your own e-commerce business, you'll actually see the entire process of starting a business from scratch. And I mean, those skills can be used for many things in your life and in your career, whether that business works out or not. So I think it's something that everyone should at least try once in their life, just to get a sense of how everything works. And again, it's fairly simple. It's not something that is very complicated. Okay, so what I first want to start about is talk about what to sell. And this is usually the part that a lot of people get stuck on. And even if you know what you're selling, I think you'll also benefit from this section because, like I said, I'll be covering things that might help you think about it from a different point of view and maybe even slightly change what you're planning on selling. So there are a few types of things that you could sell, right? The first thing is I could sell a physical product. And that's typically what people think about when they think about e-commerce, right? They think about, okay, this is a physical product. I'm selling a shirt, or I'm selling a pair of pants, or I'm selling maybe a laptop or something physical. That's like the main way that people think about e-commerce, but it's not the only way, but it is one way, right? Is selling physical products. Can anyone think about other e-commerce types of businesses besides physical products? Services, yeah, services is one. Marketing services, maybe. All right. Virtual training, yeah, that's one as well. Training, yeah. So how I like to split it is basically you have physical products, virtual products, which could be something virtual that you sell, which could be a course, it could be a book, it could be a video series. It could be something that someone has to download, like an app maybe. And then you have services. Who can tell me what a service is? Does anyone know? I mean, how would you define a service? Like, what does a service mean? In like very simple terms. Intangible? Yeah. Yeah, so basically, I mean, one way to think about a service is a way that you sell your time or sell someone else's time, right? So a service usually involves someone's time. It could be your time or it could be your employees' time, but basically someone has to use their time to actually do something, right? So for example, build a website, like that's a service because someone has to actually spend their time to actually build it, right? So yeah, so basically any knowledge work, like someone said, right? There's a question, does the DED trader license allow you to sell services? I think it might if you have an e-commerce store where they can book your services from. So I think it does, yeah. But you'll have to apply to it. All right, so let's start first with physical products because that's usually what people typically think about when they think about e-commerce, right? So physical products also have a few different types of physical products. So the main way that you could sell a physical product is if you actually own what you're selling, right? So let's say that I'm selling a shirt. I actually have stock of that shirt somewhere in a warehouse somewhere, and then I'm selling it from my own inventory. That's the first way that you could sell something physical, right? So, I mean, that's basically, it needs a bit more overhead because I have to buy the products first and then store them somewhere, but it's usually more profitable in the long run because I can charge a higher price. The other way that I could sell something physical is through something called drop shipping. Does anyone know what drop shipping is? Has anyone heard this term before? Yeah, it's like middleman sales. So basically, drop shipping is where I sell something, but I'm not storing it myself. Someone else is storing it and someone else is shipping it to the customer. So in a way, I'm basically just providing a service to market that product. And then when they go to their website, or if they go to my website and they place an order, in the background, I'll basically order it from that other warehouse somewhere that will then ship it to the customer directly. So drop shipping is it's a good field to get into if you just want to test things out. And what the main advantage of it is that it doesn't need any cost to get started because basically I can sell something and I only have to buy it when I make a sale. So for example, I could list 1,000 products on my site and I don't have to actually own those 1,000 products. Those 1,000 products could be in a warehouse somewhere else through some other company. And then as soon as someone places an order, I get the money and then I make an order for the product. So I would basically sell it at a higher price. So it's a low risk way of doing e-commerce. One of the negative things about this is that typically I would have lower margins in my profit because again, I'm buying it from someone else. So they also have their own profit as well. So, let's say that a factory makes like a shirt for $1, like maybe like the warehouse that I'm buying it from is selling it to me for $5, but then I have to sell it to the customer for $10. So, there's a lot of areas where it would be slightly harder to actually sell something because you have to mark it up a bit higher than what it's worth. So yeah, but in all cases, I have to worry about something known as cost of goods sold or COGS. Has anyone heard this term before? Cost of goods sold? Does anyone know what it means? No? Yes? Okay. Cost of goods sold basically means that it's the amount of money that I'm buying the product from before I sell it. So in the example that I gave earlier, if I'm selling a t-shirt for $10 and I'm buying it for $5, then my cost of goods sold or COGS is $5. COGS is basically how much I'm paying to get that product before I can sell it. So with the physical product, you always have this thing called cost of goods sold because I'm not the one who's actually making the shirt. I don't have a factory, right? I'm not the one that's getting all of the like material and then making the shirt in a factory somewhere. I have to buy the shirt from someone else, right? So like that's what cost of goods sold is. It's basically how much I'm paying to get this product before I can sell it. Not including shipping. Yeah, exactly. So shipping and warehouse costs are other costs that I have to think about. But cost of goods sold is just how much I'm paying to actually get this product. It's the cost price, yeah, exactly. Then I also have to think about shipping cost, right? So if I'm shipping it to the customer, do I actually, I mean, I have to pay for that, of course, right? And what I found is typically, I mean, I think it's something to do with human behavior, but people typically don't like to be charged for shipping, but they would rather charge a higher price and have shipping be free. So imagine that I'm selling something for $10 and the shipping cost is $5. A customer would rather pay $15 for it with free shipping than pay $10 and $5 shipping. Just because people don't like to pay for more things. I mean, like they just want to come to you and just buy your product. So just keep that in mind. I mean, you usually have to pay for shipping, but usually what most companies nowadays do is they include shipping costs into the price that they're selling. And they just say that they have free shipping. Next is I have to think about logistics. So how am I storing these products? So if I don't drop ship it, I have to store it in my own warehouse. And I have to have some kind of inventory management. And I also have to keep in mind if it's a physical product, sometimes people might want to return that product. Maybe it doesn't fit them. They want to send it back. I'll have to have some kind of policy around that. So there's all these things that I have to think about if I have a physical product, which I don't have to think about for some of the other products that I'll talk about in a minute. So, I mean, yeah, I mean, I'm sure all of you know websites that sell physical products, right? Like ASOS or, you know, Nemshi or Noon or any of these websites where they sell physical products. A lot of times they actually have a warehouse somewhere where they're storing all of their products. Can anyone think about an example of a drop shipping company in the Middle East that's famous? I'm sure many of you have seen this company, but maybe you don't know that they do drop shipping. Amazon doesn't really do drop shipping in the same way. They have their own warehouse. AliExpress is one. Yeah, Desert Cart. Yeah, exactly. So Desert Cart is an example of a website that does this drop shipping model where they basically have a storefront. They do the marketing. And then once an order is placed, then they place an order in the warehouse, and then that warehouse ships it to the customer. So yeah, Desert Cart is one example of this. If you go on their website, you can see that they do have drop shipping. I'm not sure if Nemshi has drop shipping. I mean, I know for a fact that they have a warehouse. Maybe they have things on standby, maybe, but I don't know if it's a traditional drop shipping company. I used to work for them, and I don't think any of their products were drop ships. Yeah, but anyway, usually you can tell something is a drop ship product if they either charge you more for delivery. So like when you place an order, like the delivery cost is very high, or if you notice that it takes a long time to actually get your product. So if it tells you, you know, you'll get this product in 3 weeks, usually it's a drop shipping product because they have to order it from the warehouse, then that warehouse ships it from China or from somewhere else. All right, yeah, interesting. I'm not aware of that. So yeah, could be the case, I'm not sure. All right, another form of product is called a virtual product. And one of the benefits of this is I don't have to worry about cost of goods sold. I don't have to worry about shipping. I don't have to worry about any of that. I can just sell something. Examples of that could be courses. They could be books, software, like anything that you get attention from. So any form of website or form of an app where you actually get people to follow you in some way, that's also sort of a virtual product that you could offer. And like I said, one of the advantages of this is you only have to build it one time and then you can sell it multiple times. And yeah, like I don't have to worry about things like shipping or cost of goods sold. Examples of this are, you know, you could make a course on Udemy or have your own platform, you know, LMS or something like Teachable or Podia or one of those, and, you know, sell your own thing if you have something that you want to teach people. Like another example is a book. So for example, I wrote a book on digital marketing. You can check it out if you just search for Timeless Digital Marketing. It's on Amazon as well. And this is an example of something that's a virtual product that I made. So I wrote this book once and then I basically just sell it. And I did it in a self-publishing way, so I didn't have to even go to any of the publishing houses. I just wrote it on my own. And if anyone wants to write a book, let me know, because I have some tips for you on how to write a book and even how to market it. But that's an example of a virtual product that you could sell. Another example could be a software. So it could be like a SaaS. So for example, you could sell some kind of a service as a software. So for example, Office, Spotify, MailChimp, those are all examples of service or like a virtual product that you could sell. Again, that's something that's a lot harder because like you have to actually build a software for it. Another example that's becoming popular nowadays, I mean, it sort of fits in the e-commerce world, is influencers. I mean, basically what they do is they get a lot of followers and then they're the product themselves, right? So people come to them to basically push their own products. So in a way, it's sort of like a virtual product in a way, because someone would pay them one time, they just have to do one post, and then they keep making money off of that post. So that's like another example. But I mean, of course, that's also hard because like you have to become famous and post a lot on social media and all of that if you want to become someone that people would pay for to actually promote their products. All right. Another example is a service. So like I said, a service is basically where you sell your time in some way. And it could be consulting, it could be coaching, it could be technical work, it could be in person or virtual. So like any form of service where you offer your time or someone else's time. So maybe you hire someone and then they spend their time with the customer as a product or as a service, is known as, as a service. Now, it's important to keep in mind, if you want to scale your service, you have to basically do something called productizing your service. Has anyone heard that term before? Productized services? Did anyone come across this term? Anyone know what a productized service is? No? Okay. So a productized service basically is where you don't sell your time directly, you sell the outcome of what your time gives someone. So let's say, for example, I'm a graphic designer, right? One of the mistakes people often make is they'll just say, okay, I can design a graphic, pay me by the hour. So, okay, pay me, I don't know, 500 dirhams per hour, and I'll make a graphic for you. That's not a good way of doing it. And the reason is because it basically punishes you for working faster, number one. Number two is people won't pay you on the value. They'll basically in their mind try to calculate your salary and say, okay, if I pay him for 8 hours, that's 500 times 8. So like this is what his salary should be. So in their mind, I mean, they basically turn you into like an employee basically. So it's a lot better instead to sell what the outcome is. So instead of telling someone, I'll sell you my time, for 500 dirhams per hour, instead tell them, I'll make a really good logo for you for 5,000 dirhams, right? So in that case, I could take 1 hour, I could take 5 hours, and it just depends on my skills about how fast I can do that thing. And the customer also sees the value of what I'm offering better, and they're not trying to think how long something might take me and then figure out if they're paying a fair price or not. They could just basically treat my product as a service, or like treat my service as a product, where they're thinking about it from the point of view of, this is a product that I want to buy, and this is how much it's going to cost me, instead of trying to think about how many hours I have to hire this person for. So that's something that you should think about, is try to think about things in terms of a productized service, which lets you charge a fixed price, and you can define what the scope is of the service that you're offering. And you can set the beginning and the end with deliverables for that. So you could say, okay, if you pay me this much, I'll do this. If you pay me more, I'll do that. All right. Another example of this is called a drop servicing model. And this recently became popular where, I mean, it's similar to the drop shipping model, except the only difference is that instead of shipping a product to someone, I basically give them a service. So for example, I could offer graphic design services. And if I'm not a graphic designer, I could just get a client, then I could find someone else, like maybe someone that I know in my own network or my friend or someone else, and like basically give him, you know, someone that wants help with their service. And then I would basically take a, yeah, like some kind of a fee on top of that. So that's one example of something that you could try. And the good thing about this is it also could be a very low risk thing where I don't have to actually hire someone. So I mean, normally if a company did this, they would first have to hire someone first and pay their salary and all of that, then find someone that would want to use their service. But in a drop servicing model, I can basically not have to pay anyone. I just find a freelancer. And then when I get a client, then I just hand them off to the freelancer. Of course, like if you want to, I mean, do this properly, then you have to find people that you can trust that can actually do the service. So I wouldn't just, I mean, go with a random person, but if you do have someone that you believe in their work, this could be a way that you could make money. Yeah, so I mean, basically it's just what I explained. So you connect it to a third-party service. What would be a finder's fee? So again, there are no rules. So I mean, there are even some companies locally. I mean, I don't think this is always ethical, but there are some companies that I know about here. They would charge someone maybe 10,000 dirhams for something like a graphic, and then they would find someone overseas that would they would only pay them like 500 dirhams. So they would pocket basically 14,500 dirhams on something. So again, there's no rules, right? So I could do whatever I want as long as I can find someone that is willing to do it at the price that I set. And oftentimes, I mean, if you think about it from the other point of view, like someone that's not in the region here, maybe they wouldn't be able to easily find clients like you would maybe, right? I mean, maybe like you have your own network and you already know people that want a certain service. So, I mean, it's not like you're not providing any value at all. I mean, you're basically doing like the job of a salesperson to actually get these clients for them, right? But I mean, how much you pay them just depends on, I guess, like the market fees and what you can find. All right. What I want to talk about next, and this is probably like the last thing I'll talk about, or like the last section, because I don't want to take too much of your time, but basically I want to talk about how to come up with something to sell or how to come up with the ideas. And like I said, this would be useful for you even if you already know what you're selling, because I'm going to tell you some techniques that can help you figure out if there's demand for the product or service that you're offering. So, I mean, this is basically like the new way of doing market research and figuring out, you know, do people actually want to buy this thing? So I'm going to give you basically 5 ways to explore, you know, whether you're not sure about what you might want to sell, or if you are someone that already knows what you want to sell, it would also help you think about things in a better way. Keep in mind a few things. Number one, like I said earlier, you want to try to keep the cost of goods sold of whatever you're selling below 40%. And that's typically the industry standard that I found for a startup. So for example, if I'm selling something for 100, I wouldn't want to pay more than 40 for it. And that's because there are so many other costs that I have to think about. I have to think about licensing cost, shipping cost, you know, cost of the website, marketing cost, cost of my own salary. So those are all things that I have to think about. And if your margin is not very high, then it'll be really hard for you to actually be profitable. And another thing is you want to try to get at least 20% profitability on all of your costs if you can. So, I mean, I found that that's usually like the best kind of product is if you take out all of your costs, you probably have a profit margin of around 20% that you could pay as like a salary for whoever's working on it. If this number is below 20%, then I would rethink, you know, how you're doing this product, or maybe it's the wrong product, or maybe you can charge a higher price. And think about also how large is the market, right? So think about, okay, is this a market that actually has enough people that would buy this product? So, I mean, I'm going to show you ways to actually measure how big the market is, but it's something that you should think about. And also think about, are they price sensitive? So for example, I probably wouldn't want to sell something to a high school student. I mean, just because they usually don't have much disposable income, right? Unless you're targeting their parents, maybe. But I mean, just keep those things in mind. I mean, it seems basic, but it is important to keep in mind. And you should also think, do they go online? So especially if it's an e-commerce company, you want to try to find people that actually are online in some capacity. So again, I mean, with the e-commerce company, I probably wouldn't target people above the age of maybe 70 or 60 even. I might target them with the other kinds of businesses, but with the e-commerce business, again, it might be hard to find them online. So think about that as well. I mean, how many of them are they? Are they price sensitive? And how many of them are actually online in the first place? All right. So my first tip when you're thinking about something to sell, whether that be a physical product, a virtual product, or a service, is to think about, what do you currently know? So that's a very good place to start, is think about what is something that you're personally passionate about. So it could be a field that you currently work in, or it could be some kind of a pain that you noticed in your life. Like, what is something that bothered you? So one example is, I heard some people before tell me that they basically take notes on anything that ever bothers them. So if they're, I mean, in the world, and yeah, I mean, just doing something, and something bothers them, they'll make a note of it. And then, I mean, usually if something is bothering you, then it might be bothering other people. So I mean, for example, like, let's say that I'm buying a house, and I don't know, some part of the house buying process is a bit frustrating for me. I could basically turn that into either a product or a service to make it easier for people that are in like that same situation. So think about that, like something that bothered you in some way, or like maybe it's a product that you wish that you could buy online, but you never found it. So like, that's the first thing, is I would always start with yourself. And also, I mean, keep in mind that, I mean, starting an e-commerce company, it might take a long time. So it's a lot better if you're passionate about whatever you're doing. Number two, my second tip is to do research and actually see what the market is looking for and what it needs, kind of. So what that means is you want to look at different tools. So there's a few tools that I'll share with you here. One of them is you can look at what people are running on Facebook. And Facebook, along with Instagram, which Facebook bought, are running the most display ads when it comes to selling things online. So if you just go to this URL here, you can basically search for any company or any industry, and it'll tell you what ads are being run by those people. So you can basically see what people are currently selling online. And then another idea is I could go to a different country somewhere else and then look at their ads and see if there's something that is not being sold here yet. And that's one of the benefits of the region here, is that a lot of times you can just start a very successful business just by seeing what people are doing in other markets that are maybe slightly more mature in some capacity. So I could look here and like see what people are doing, for example, in the US or in some other country, and then basically take that idea and implement it here. Another thing I could do is look at Google Trends, which is a free tool where I can basically see what are people searching for on Google. So if you just go to Google Trends and you search for anything, like I could search for laptops, electronics, I could search for clothing. I mean, whatever I'm searching for, I could basically see what are the top things people are searching for in that category. And that would give me some idea of what I could sell. So even if you know that you're selling clothing, I can go on to Google Trends and see what kind of clothing are people actually searching for. And then if it's something that I could offer, maybe I'll start offering that if there's already some demand for it. You could also look at Google Shopping. So if you go onto Google and you go on the shopping tab on Google, it'll basically tell you what are the brands that are currently selling e-commerce products on Google. And you can also see, split it by the category and split it by the brand name and see what are people currently selling. And usually, if they're running ads, then usually it's somewhat of a profitable product, right? So it's a good thing to think about. Another tool to use is the Google Keyword Planner tool, which you can get if you sign up for Google Ads, which is free. And you go to the Keyword Planner tool. It's similar to the Google Trends tool, but it gives you a little more in-depth coverage of what people might be searching for. So it lets you, for example, see how many searches are being done per month on a certain keyword, for example. So it gives you more details, and it suggests things that people are searching for. So you might notice trends there that you might not have thought about. A interesting fact that I recently read was 15%, so like 15% of all searches done on Google every day have never been done before. And it's because there's always new things that are coming up in the world, like maybe new news stories, new products, new services. So 15% of searches are brand new searches. So it's impossible for anyone to actually know what are people searching for unless you keep checking and seeing what they're searching for. So that's why tools like this are important, because even if you know what you're selling, there'll always be new things that people start searching for that you can consider adding or consider selling. Another thing is just to do market research in the niche that you're targeting. So, if you chose something that you want to use, for example, or that you want to sell, you can Google, what are the top performing categories in that. And there's a lot of market research that has been done by Shopify and other platforms that actually tell you things like the volume of products being sold in a lot of markets. And finally, there are certain dropshipping tools that I'll go over in a bit where you can actually use these tools to actually see demand for products. And like some examples of this are, let's see, there's a website called wish.com, for example, which you can use for dropshipping, where if you go on this, you can basically search by most popular products, for example, and you can see what are people dropshipping. And then I could also go on websites like AliExpress, for example, and I could look there and see, which products on AliExpress have a lot of volume and orders, and basically filter that way. And then I could maybe drop ship them, or I could figure out how to sell them on my own. Right. So like that's my second tip, is do some research, look into some of the tools that I mentioned. How do you see what services are on high demand? So again, I could go to Google Trends. So I could go to Google Trends and search for it. So for example, I could search for digital marketing, for example, or I could search for web design. And then it would tell me under web design, what's most popular. So for example, are people searching for WordPress? Are they searching for HTML? Are they searching for front-end development? Like what exactly are they searching in web design? So if I put it in Google Keyword Planner, for example, or any of the Google tools that I mentioned earlier, you can actually see what the volume is for each of the subcategories of that field. Okay, my third tip is find people where they are. And this concept is known as going to water holes, or where people congregate online. Can anyone guess or like tell me what is an example of a water hole? I mean, basically, it's a term that some people in the business community use, where it's a place where people go online to talk about things, usually around shared interest, maybe. Yeah, so like it could be Reddit, for example. So any place, like for example, like Reddit, online forums, for example, groups like WhatsApp groups, Facebook, Twitter, and just see what are people complaining about and what are they talking about. So for example, if I'm selling a digital marketing service, I could join groups that talk about digital marketing and then see what they're complaining about. And then that would give me some ideas of things that I could sell. Another example is like, let's say that I'm selling a physical product, like a baby, I don't know, items for babies, right? I could go onto Quora or onto Reddit and see what are people complaining about. Like, for example, some people might complain that they can't find a good baby crib. And that could be an idea of something that I could sell, right? The fourth tip is think about yourself as the product. Has anyone seen the movie Catch Me If You Can? It's a pretty famous movie. It came out in, I think, 2002. Yeah, so in the movie, basically, I mean, it's a movie. It's based on a true story of a con artist that basically tricked his way into, doing all of these different jobs. And one of the things someone asked him was, I mean, in the movie, and I mean, like, it's based on a real story, is he actually started teaching a French class, and he didn't speak French. So someone asked him, how did you teach a French class if you didn't speak French? And his answer was, I just had to read one chapter ahead. So think about that in terms of sharing your own knowledge. So you don't have to be like, I mean, like, you don't have to know everything about a topic to teach it or to sell a product about that topic. You just have to know more than the person that you're selling to. So for example, I could, make a course about, how to, do proper financing for your startup. I don't have to be a financing like wizard, but I just have to know more than the person that I'm teaching that product to. So think about, selling your time either as a course or your knowledge in some way. And I'm sure that most of you have some kind of skills that you could put into either, some kind of a service or a course of some kind. And then, I mean, keep in mind that this is one of the highest margin products that you could do, is actually selling your time, or like, selling something that as a knowledge product, because I don't have to worry about, storing it or shipping cost or any of that. And my fifth tip, and like this is one that Gary Vee always talks about, is basically think about things that you could flip, which basically means like, think about things that that you could get for a lower price and sell it at a higher price somehow. This could be maybe, I don't know, like, someone, in your home country that can make something that, is at a very low cost, and then you can bring it here or somewhere else and sell it at a higher cost. I mean, like, the example he gives is to, look for deals on like maybe secondhand items. So, I mean, for example, he goes to yard sales, I mean, which I don't really have here that much, but he basically goes to places that sell secondhand items and he sells them at a higher price. But even like in our case, I mean, we could look at, places that might sell secondhand things, or we could, find a product in a different country or somewhere else, and then bring it here and sell it at a higher price. So think about things like that. And I mean, for example, I mean, oftentimes, like, you might find a deal on websites like Dubizzle or those kind of websites where like someone might be moving and they just want to sell something at a price that would be, like a higher price, right? So I mean, if you look out for those kind of deals, then you could sell at a higher price. Yeah, exactly. So like you might see this at a flea market maybe. So yeah, so I mean, like, this is the final thing that I'll close with is, I mean, I would think about these things when you're coming up with something that you might want to sell. So think about, what do you think would sell well? Research, choose a product that you think has high demand. Find like a water hole or like a online community and think about, how could you help them in some way. Think about yourself as the product, where you sell either a virtual product or a service of some kind. And then like the last one is think about flipping or like finding some kind of a bargain that you could then charge at a higher price for. So, I mean, I just gave some random examples here. So like, for example, like something that I think would sell well are like, niche candy products maybe. Something that I think people are searching for are AirPod cleaners, right? Because everyone has an AirPod and it's hard to clean them. And people always search for how to clean the AirPods. A water hole is, yeah, I mean, especially during the pandemic, there were a lot of people searching for how to homeschool your children. So that could be an example of a service that I could offer about how to teach your kids at home if you want to do that. You're the product. So I could do things, yeah, like, marketing support, or the book that I wrote, for example. Bargain hunting. I mean, oftentimes, like, I found that like there's a few places in Dubai where they sell old laptops, like MacBooks and things like that. So I mean, if you go to like, Dara or Karama or like those kind of places, like they usually have, secondhand shops that sell laptops. So, I mean, one idea is I could like basically list like some of those online and like just have a markup on them. So like, those are just like some, random ideas that I came up with myself. But the point is to get you thinking about this on your own and think about what you could sell. And yeah, I mean, keep in mind that, yeah, I mean, like I said earlier, our course that we're offering, which is a 2-month program, covers how to come up with something that you should sell, and also how to write a business plan for it. So we actually have templates for you where we actually have you build an actual profit and loss template that you can use to actually plan your actual business plan. And then, a place to sell. So you have to figure out, are you going to sell it on Shopify or WordPress or somewhere else? And then how can you actually build it? And then legal setup. So you have to figure out, how are you going to license this product? Are you going to set up in the UAE or as an offshore company? Operations and delivery. How are you going to store the product and all that and deliver it? And then marketing and selling, how do you actually get your first 10 and 100 customers? If you want more, just follow this link here. And if you enter your email here, we'll send you more information about the course. And I'll also send you these slides that I just went over now. So I'll send you a copy of these slides. And also I'll send you more about the course if you want to register for it. And also, yeah, I'll be around if you have any questions in the meantime. So yeah, if you have a question, feel free to type it in the chat and I'll answer it. Does AstroLabs provide market research for businesses? Do you provide consulting? Okay, so we don't provide those services, but we point you in the right direction for them. So indirectly, yes, we do help with that. So we'll help you do the research on your own. We'll help you, show you what to use. So we'll basically point you in the right direction, and we'll be sort of like a mentor for you. So we will help you with that. In terms of when this will be available again, we have a recording for it. So if you follow this link on the screen here and enter your email, I'll send you a recording of it as well if you missed any part of it. Any suggestions on the most convenient? So probably most convenient, I would say, in the UAE and in the region are probably Stripe, which recently opened, and checkout.com. Those are the two easiest ones based on my experience that I think are easy to set up if you have a trade license. You feel like you're heading in the right direction? That's great. Glad to hear that. Awesome. Yeah. So again, if you want recordings and the slides, just enter your email on this link here and we'll share it with you. Any other questions before we go? Thank you. Thank you. All right. Thank you, Maria. Lucas, do you want to add anything else before we close off?
I think you covered it. If you guys are sharing your email addresses or WhatsApp numbers, we'll drop you more info and the recording. So I'm just taking your contact details from here. So thanks for it. And yeah, thanks, Ahmed, for all the information. Super helpful. I believe people get many good tips here. So hopefully we'll see many new e-commerces starting up soon.
Yeah, exactly. And yeah, one more time, this is like the program that we're offering. If you go to astrolabs.com/e-commerce, you can read all about it and exactly what's covered. And we basically cover, everything from, how to choose a product, to write a business plan, to, help you legally set up, to actually build your brand, build your website, operations and logistics, e-commerce, marketing, and how to get loyal customers. And again, I found honestly that it does help to do things as a group. Because it does give you some social accountability also. And imagine, I'm sure most of you are busy, right? And all of you have probably full-time jobs or other things that you're working on. By joining a program like this, I'm being serious, it really helps you move things along much faster. So probably if you were doing it on your own, it might take you like a year to launch something. But if you do it as part of a group, it sort of forces you to move faster, right? And it also helps you, any roadblock that you have immediately gets solved. So if you have a question about licensing, we'll help you solve it. If you have a question about there's a problem with your website, we'll help you solve it. So, think about it as like an accelerator or incubator program where you join and then it basically streamlines you through the entire process. And what might take you like a year would just take you a few weeks. All right. Are these classes face-to-face? Yeah, so it's a mix. So it's so some of the content will be self-paced, but it'll be project-based. So you'll be actually given timelines that you have to deliver on. And you'll basically have like basically project milestones that you have to reach.
Yeah, exactly. And I would just highlight this is very different from a traditional courses you might guys see around, because as Ahmed said, this is project based. So during the program, you will be actually working on your business. So as you can see, for example, the first module is about the business plan, where we tell you how the e-commerce business plan should look like. We give you a business plan template, and then you work basically on your own business plan for your own business. And it is asking post-completion, will we have mentors or coaches for a certain amount of time? Very good question. Part of this incubator program is basically one-on-one consultation with our e-commerce experts. And also you're becoming member of AstroLabs Academy. So those who are on the line, like Maria, etc., can confirm that it means you're getting access to our platform, where you can always ask questions, come back if you need some help, if you get stuck somewhere, etc. So this is what you're getting within the membership in AstroLabs Academy.
Yeah, and I mean, like there are some people that like took our courses like 3 years ago, 4 years ago, and they still ask us questions. So like we're not going anywhere. So if you have a question, you know, even in the future, like we're always here.
Thanks, Maria, for confirming. Yeah.
Any other questions before we go? Yeah. All right. Great. If you shared your email, we'll send you all of the slides that we covered and the video. And yeah, I mean, feel free to reach out to us if you have any other questions, and we hope to see you at a future event soon. All right, everyone. Have a good one. Take care.
Have a good afternoon. See you guys.
See everyone. Bye-bye.